What's going on, everyone? My name is Echo Codex and welcome back to the channel. Now, the Prowler solo Coliseum has been out for a little bit now, but I kind of wanted to go over the fight and show you a few examples of really good options. So this fight revolves around two main aspects, evade and miss. You can see up in the upper right, Prowler has the evade icon right now, and it's going to switch over to the miss icon. Yep. So while he has the evade icon on, he's going to be evading all of your basic attacks. And while he's got the miss icon up, he's going to be missing all of your special attacks. Now there is a node in this fight to kind of help you play around that, is that whenever you parry him, you're either going to gain a pursuit or a vigilance buff. But with Prowler, because his first medium attack is non-contact, you really want to re-parry him, so you're going to be getting the same buff, and it's a little bit hard to alternate between the two. In that case, you really want an evade counter mostly. The miss counter is also nice, but an evade counter really makes this fight easy. And that's where you see I'm using Deathless Thanos here. Is probably my favorite option for this fight. It is kind of the best option because of that panic debuff that you see there on the left-hand side of the screen. Or right next to the evade icon to the left of it. It's the debuff that he applies whenever he's got max charges and goes unstoppable. He puts that panic debuff on. That panic debuff causes all of his attacks to not evade, not miss. He's going to be bypassing everything, so it just kind of turns into a normal fight. You can punish Prowler's special attacks, which normally he puts the falter debuff on you and causes you to miss. That's not really going to happen when that panic debuff's on. You can see here we're failing all the evades and we're able to just hit him normally. And Deathless Thanos also has another really big advantage for him in this fight, in that when we get past 5 bars here, you can see that little purple icon to the right of Prowler's icon. You either have to hit Prowler with a striker or a heavy attack every so often, or you'll be put to sleep. Now, with Deathless Thanos, you can easily weave in those heavy attacks because of his stun heavy after the 4 combo. So, as you can see here, I think this was my best run with Deathless Thanos. I think we got to like 13 bars or something, but really just want to take that hit into the block, the last hit of the special attack, activate that on Unstoppable, put the panic debuff on Prowler, and then can just keep going in, spamming the specials once to kind of regen a lot of that block damage. But this isn't really the most sustainable strategy, and there's definitely room for improvement here, because once Prowler gets up there in attack rating after, you know, the first 7-8 bars, those hits into block start to hurt quite a bit, and even just punishing the special with activating the block after, you're going to see right about here. See, no, I don't I should punish this one, but you see that hit was like 10k damage there, I believe. So it's, yeah, that one was 7k damage into the block. So I'm taking a lot of block damage hits here, just trying to activate my panic debuff. So there's definitely some room for optimization, but this was what I found to be the best way to apply that panic debuff and kind of get Prowler moving. So you see here, we're just going to be keeping on that rotation of taking the last hit into the block, regenning some of that with the SP1 passive, and just keep on moving. We also definitely want to keep up the armor break and armor shatter. It's adding a lot to our damage. We use the striker there to complete the prompt. Prowler activates his SP1. We're going to be just dodging back in the corner here, activating the panic, going back in with our SP1, and we're going to be 10k into the block series. So the block damage is really starting to ramp up here. We're going to try and bait out the SP2. He throws it. And now at this point, I'm trying to avoid as many SP2s into the block as possible and just taking that first medium into the block to activate the panic debuff, because the last hit of the SP2 really does hurt and it's doing a lot of block damage. Activate the heavy attack there to avoid the passive, bait out this SP2, and dodge back in the corner here, take a medium into the block, go unstoppable, put the panic debuff, and then go in with a heavy attack, complete the prompt. We're at 13 bars now, and pretty soon I think we're going to be messing up taking a hit into the block here. Take the first medium and kind of repeat that cycle. So you can pretty easily get, you know, anywhere 10 plus bars I definitely think it's possible to go, 15, 17 bars with some more optimization, but here we just take the SP down to the face and we get wrecked. Yeah. Now we have Okoye, which she's a little bit of an interesting one because we get that really easy evade counter just by dexing, but Prowler is bleed immune. So we're just going to be relying on our shock damage here, which in some ways can help us because we're going to be refreshing the shocks every so often. But his bleed immunity can be a bit of a problem. I tested out Medusa, who I thought would be really good for this fight with the ramp up, but because of Prowler's bleed immunity, Medusa doesn't really get to ramp up quite as much. And even though she gets that tree accuracy buff, it doesn't really do much for her. So with the Okoye, we definitely want to keep up that vigilance passive, or vigilance buff as much as possible, because we're always going to be basically having the evade counter on him, and then we're just going to try and nuke him down as much as possible with these shocks. I also did try a few other options like Stealthy, which I thought would be really good because when Stealthy puts the slow debuff on Prowler, he also can't miss, so it would just be kind of a normal fight. But since Prowler has a 115% ability accuracy, and because Stealthy slow debuff just reduces the ability accuracy of evade by 100%, we're not fully reducing the ability to evade, and Prowler still can't evade you. You won't be missing, but he still can't evade you, so that can catch you off guard, and it makes Stealthy not the best option for this fight. Unfortunately here our shocks kind of fell off, so we're going to have to be starting up the ramp again. This is a bit of a slower fight compared to the Deathless Thanos fight. We also don't have class advantage here, so that is reducing our attack rating a little bit. But obviously just want to keep up that vigilance buff as much as possible, which Prowler's double mediums, or non-contact medium actually helps out with that because we can just parry and then re-parry to reactivate the vigilance buff, and we don't have to worry about putting that pursuit passive on us. We want to ensure that we're dexing every now and then to make sure that ensnare debuff is up so that we won't actually ever be evaded by Prowler and get wrecked with hits to the face. But now just going in for a full combo here. He's got that evade passive up, but we don't care. Bait out the SP1. Put the vigilance passive back on us, and now we can go for a big SP2. So that SP2 did some pretty nice damage there. We always want to make sure that if we're throwing our special attack, and he's got that miss icon active, that we have the vigilance buff, or we will be missing our entire special attack, and we'll be put in the bin. Don't want that to happen. So now we are past 5 bars, and this is where the fight becomes a little bit more difficult because Okoye doesn't really have the best way to weave in those heavy attacks. We really just want to be re-parrying or utilizing the striker to take off that charge, and we don't want to be put to sleep. I think that is what eventually kills us here, is that we don't land one of those passives and we get put to sleep. But yeah, but definitely possible. Yeah, we got a little bit wrecked by that heavy attack there. Definitely, again, a little bit wrecked. So you can definitely take some hits to the face and still do fine on this fight. You counter with the heavy there. Whenever you're countering Prowler's special attacks, make sure that you either have that vigilance passive on you or you wait like a second or two. Otherwise, he's going to put that falter passive on you and you're going to be missing your entire heavy attack and you're going to be wrecked. Don't want that to happen. Bait out the SP2 here. We got to counter this with the heavy attack if we can. See, we re-parry there. We get the vigilance passive on us. We got the endurance path on us, not really that big of a deal in this fight. We do make sure that we have the ensnare debuff on, and whenever we're intercepting Prowler, I do find that it's a little bit finicky, especially when we're punishing his heavy attack. Because after that heavy attack, I don't know why, but it just seems like with the Okoye, when you're going in for that first medium, he seems to dodge back, or the first medium will make contact, and I think you saw that a couple times in this fight. But yeah, still weaving in those heavy attacks every now and then, punishing the specials when we have the vigilance passive on us so we don't miss. We gotta land in a heavy or a striker here. Now we have the striker, so we can just, yes, striker intercept there, get the stun off. Now we have the vigilance passive, so we can land a big SP2. The SP2 is where a lot of the damage in this fight comes into play, especially with all these shocks getting refreshed. We really want to make sure that we keep up those shots as much as possible. Punish with the heavy attack. We'll complete the prompt. Now we're on to 8 bars of power, still making sure that that ensnare debuff is up at all times. Reparry there, get the vigilance passive right on us. Bait out the SP2. We got the sleep passive on the way, so we gotta punish this with a heavy attack. We also keep the striker in the bank just in case we are unable to land a heavy attack for whatever reason. We can just striker intercept and complete the prompt in that way. Up to 28 shocks now. Bait out the SP2. SP1 here. Now we're close to 10 bars of power. The passive become increasingly faster. We got a striker intercept here if we can, or put the striker out. Yep, complete the challenge, and we are going to be quickly on to 10 bars here in a few seconds. Bait out the SP2, dodge that. We do have the vigilance passive on us, so we can counter this with the heavy attack. Reparry there, going back in. And again, that snare passive is always on Prowler. We gotta make sure we dex every now and then. Up to 41 shots, you can see how quickly those health bars are melting with the amount of shots that we have. Counter with the heavy. SP1 here. Counter with the heavy again. SP1. Counter with the heavy. Make sure to complete those prompts, which are coming a lot faster now. Up to 25 shocks. Striker intercept, or activate the striker. 29 shocks here. Don't have the vigilance passive on us, so we can't land a special attack. And then we just get hit in the face to end the fight. So now for probably the most underrated and also easiest option out there, that is Gamora. Because what we're going to want to do with Gamora is rush up to the SP3, in which case we get one of the true strike buffs, I believe. And that causes Prowler to not be able to evade. And with 8 or more buffs on Gamora, she can't miss. And one thing about Prowler is that his special attacks are very, very easy to heavy counter. And since we can't miss, we can just refresh our buffs and we'll be ramping up the damage all the way to 25 cruelties, 25 furies. Gamora ramps up super, super well here. You see we're going up for the SP3. You're going to see that True Strike buff on our icon there, the little eyeball icon. That's going to be causing Prowler won't be able to evade anymore. So now that we have more than 8 buffs and that's True Strike active, Prowler can't evade us, he can't cause us to miss, and this turns into a very vanilla fight with Gamora just ramping up the damage. Now we just want to do full 5-hit combos, ramp up the Furies, ramp up the Cruelties, refresh them by baiting out specials and countering with a heavy attack, and we're just going to ramp up to 25 of each of these buffs and move on to do as much damage as possible. My Gamora here is only rank 1, and we got to like 13 bars really, really easily. So if you have like a rank 3, rank 4 Gamora, you're going to be doing an insane amount of damage, especially with those Godslayer SP2s. And also with Gamora, because we're heavy countering all of his special attacks, you're going to be completing those prompts in which we get to 5 bars pretty easily. So this turns into a very vanilla fight where it's just 5-hit combo, bait out the special attacks, counter with a heavy attack, refresh the buffs, don't have to worry about evade, don't have to worry about miss, don't have to parry him, so you don't really have to take many hits into the block, and it becomes a very vanilla fight at that point. The hardest part of this fight has already passed. It's just building up to that SP3 and making sure that we build up those initial 8 buffs so that we can counter the evade and miss. But now that that's over, we're already at 20 Furies, already at 12 Cruelties. You can see that was a 50k Final hit of the SP2, again on a rank 1 Gamora, so we're doing a lot of damage here. Really just want to be baiting out those special attacks, and one thing I've noticed is that if you're a little bit too close to Prowler when he activates his SP2, that first little projectile that he shoots at you, the little smoke bomb, can be a little bit hard to dodge at times, and it's why I take him into the block a few times here, and that's basically the block damage that's going to be adding up over the course of the fight, eventually causing us to die here. But again, going to be activating our SP2, the SP1s, we just counter with the heavy attack, refresh our buffs. We're not even max ramp yet, we're just at 24, and now we're at 25 Furies, we've got the max number of Furies, we just need the max number of cruelties, and Gamora builds up her buffs just through her 5-hit combos on her light attacks and medium attacks. She has a chance to activate a Fury and Cruelty buff, and since we have the Gamora Striker on her, that chance for Furies ramps up significantly, and that's why we were able to get a lot of the Furies before we maxed out our Cruelties, for sure. Counter with the heavy attack, that's a 40k crit on the last hit of the heavy attack. Gamora's now hitting like a truck, man. Now we're already on to 6 bars. He activates his SP2. He's got the little heavy icon on him, but we're just going to easily counter this with the heavy, refresh our buffs here. Trying to bait out this SP1, but we go for the reparry into the Striker to complete the prompt. Heavy attack to refresh our buffs. We're already at 20 cruelties, just 5 more buffs to go. Going to be countering this with a heavy, refresh our buffs. And really with Gamora, since Prowler is bleed immune, you really want to go for those SP2s and get the armor breaks on him, especially when you have Godslayer active, which is the leftmost icon next to that pursuit icon and the vigilance buff thing there you see. It's the little like 5-pronged icon there, that's where Godslayer is. And you see our Godslayer is ready here, we're going to want to go for our SP2. He power drains us, but that's okay. He activates his SP2, he counters this with a heavy attack. And while those armor breaks are active, we're going to be hitting really, really hard. Look at that, like that was like a 40k crit that we saw there. We're, 50k crit on the last hit, the heavy attack. We're up to 24 cruelties, 25 furies. So we're almost max ramped here, and it's going to be just, you know, really vanilla. 200 hits into this fight already. Again, this is just a rank 1 Gamora, so if you have like a rank 3, rank 4, it's going to be doing a lot more damage a lot quicker. That was like nearly 100k special attack right there. Counter with the heavy, complete the prompts, and now we're max ramped. 25 cruelties, 25 furies. He hasn't been evading us or missing us this entire fight, so it's really, really vanilla. And we have class advantage, so we gain a little bit of extra attack rate in that way. And I think soon we're going to be taking a few too many hits into the block, and that's going to be causing us to die here, but counter with the heavy attack, 40k crit there. He activates his SP1, counter with the heavy, again a 40k crit. Just activate the SP1, 100k casual SP1. 240 hits into this fight almost, and then we just take a medium to the face and we die. But yeah, that is the solo Coliseum Prowler. I hope this explained the fight to you well. I hope you're able to get a few extra options in and kind of understand the fight a bit better. But go ahead and hit that like button, hit that sub button, hit all the good buttons, and I will see you in the next one.